Perfect. All right, so we are going to get started. I am just going to share my screen. Before we get started, I know the last time I had everybody come on and just share which organization they're with and name and title. For the sake of time, I am going to ask if you can please drop in the chat your organization name, your mission, what you all do, and your name and your title. Thank you all, and I think it will be interesting to see. I think the last time we saw, like, a lot of you all were in the same area, so it was great to network with other organizations. So looking forward to see if we can make some more connections today. So please feel free to drop in the chat your organization name, your name and title, and just a little bit about what you all do. All right. And I am going to try to allow a few people in. So I do this. Screen. Oops, one moment, sorry, y'all. Perfect, all right, so here we are. Again, welcome to our Medici Road Renew America Nonprofit Grant Program info session. Today's agenda, I just wanted to quickly go over the key items that we'll be discussing. A little bit about Medici Road for those of you that are just now hearing about the organization. We'll spend some time just give you guys an overview of what we do. And then we'll talk a little bit about the grant program, give you an overview of how it all started, some context, and why this is an important program. We'll also give you an overview of the program team, the partners, the individuals that you'll be working with. We'll also have a discussion around timeline, program requirements for you as an applicant, and then we'll also talk about our applicant selection process, all right? And then we'll have Q&A at the end. If you're just joining, please hold all of your questions. You can also drop them in the chat, and at the end, I'll be sure to allow you all time to ask all of your questions, okay? Perfect. So Medici Road, we are a nonprofit organization here in the Washington, D.C. area. We are a community development focused organization, and we utilize racial equity as well as human-centered design. That is our approach to the work that we do. And our mission is really to end poverty and reduce poverty through education, housing, and public health solutions. We have, when it comes to different programming and services, research and evaluation, programming, so this Renew America program, policy, we do a lot of policy advocacy work. We like to think of ourselves as a think tank. We identify problems and we try to come up with solutions. And we also have products that we've developed. So we have a mortgage calculator. I encourage you all, if this is your first time learning about the organization, you can visit us at mediciroad.org, where you can find out more about some of our programmings. Again, I want to share a little bit about Medici's approach. I think this is something that will come up as we go on through the presentation, specifically around the Renew America grant. Our organization has a focus on racial equity, and really that approach is focusing on getting to the root cause of the issue. So when we think about disadvantaged communities and we think about communities that we're calling lower income communities, we do like to take a look at those from, okay, what are the root cause, what is the root cause of the issues in some of those communities? So our approach to this work is we want to do this work with communities. So we like to work with the community in addressing some of their issues. So we don't just propose recommendations, but we work with community through focus groups, surveys, and other things to engage them in the solutions that they want to see in their communities. So a little bit about the Renew America program. So this program, Medici, we are one of 9 prime recipients of this funding. It is a federal level. It was a program through the United States Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. And I'm more than happy to send you more information about the program when it officially launched. But the idea here, I just wanted to share with you all that we are one, and we're very lucky to have been selected as one of the 9 recipients for this funding. And the context, and I wanted to just provide you all with why this program is important and why Medici felt like we needed to be involved. We know that there's approximately 1.5 million nonprofits in the US. And of all those nonprofit organizations, which many of you guys are part of, you all employ about more than 10% of the workforce. And we know that energy costs, they're the 2nd largest operational expense for nonprofits after salaries. We also know that communities and citizens, they're deeply connected to your missions and what you all do as donors, volunteers. And we also know that many of the nonprofit organizations, they serve disadvantaged populations. So energy cost savings, we do believe that being able to help you reduce your energy costs, it would help you redirect some of those funds to your mission. And we also believe that strong, resilient communities need strong nonprofits. I share all of this to bring you all back to why this Renew America program. The purpose and the objective here is to help reduce carbon emission, improve health and safety, and to lower utility costs for buildings that are owned and operated by 501c3 organization. So the U.S. Department of Energy's focus, it's really to address really focusing on those communities in the U.S. that we know are what they're calling disadvantaged communities. How do we come in and support those nonprofit organizations? And this is one of the ways, right? Now, this application process for this funding that is coming from the federal government, it was a very competitive process, and Medici is very excited that we were selected as one of the 9. And our approach to this work, I think, is what really allowed us to receive the funding. So I just want to spend some time just to kind of go over what is Medici's approach. Well, one aspect of this work, they really wanted us to focus on the alignment to Justice 40. For those of you that maybe this is your first time hearing about Justice 40, this is an initiative, again, of the federal government that specifies that 40% of new investment must flow into disadvantaged communities. So for this specific program, there is a preference. We are going to, this is not going to be you must be in a Justice 40 community, but there is a strong preference for buildings that are located or provide services to disadvantaged people that are living in Justice 40 areas. And I am going to share another slide that is going to give you guys a tool in order for you to find out if your building is located in a Justice 40 location. So that would be next. Secondly, sub-recipient sub-engagement. A big portion of this grant program, we really, as I mentioned before, Medici's approach to the work that we do is very human-centered, and it's also, there's a racial equity aspect of this work. So part of this program, we are asking our sub-recipients, so you all on the call today are potential sub-recipients. So we receive funding from the federal government, Department of Energy, right? And now they're asking us to distribute those funds to other nonprofit organizations. So we are considered the prime recipient, And you all as potential applicants, or those of you that have already applied and phase 2, you all will serve as subrecipient. And in our proposal, we have a strong emphasis on engaging local contractors, making sure that the subcontractors that you'll be working with for your projects, they're committed to hiring local employees. This is something that was very important to us here at Medici. There's also a diversity, equity, inclusion component to this work. And Dana, I see your hands, and we'll get to everyone after the presentation. So just hold your question, please. And throughout the program, there is going to be an opportunity for Medici to work with all of you, the selected awardees or subrecipients, to engage in focus groups with your communities and surveys, because we really want to do this work in a way that is not just coming in and we help you with the project and then that's it. We want you all to really engage your communities and to continue this work even beyond the grant. There's also a cost share component to this. Each awardee will receive up to about 100, I know it says 180, but it's about 189,000 is the grant amount that each of the selected subrecipient will receive. As part of that, you are also required to contribute there's a cost share of about 20%. Now, when it comes to cost share, we can have more detailed conversation with you all about that toward the end, or if you want to schedule a follow-up conversation, we can do that. Because I know there were some questions the last time, but we can definitely give you guys some more information. But I just wanted to share in terms of the way that we are approaching this work. These are the 4 things that we are going to focus on. So Justice 40, I mentioned earlier that part of this programming, one of the requirements is that your organization must be either the building is located in a Justice 40 area, or you are serving individuals that in Justice 40 locations. So what I have here is a QR code that you all can scan with your phone. I can also send you, everyone will get a copy of the slide here as well as the presentation. But this will link you to a website where you can input your building's address, and it would let you see whether or not your building is located in a Justice 40 area. If you look at this map here, the areas that are shaded in dark blue represent Justice 40 areas. Okay. And please let me know if the link, the QR code doesn't work. But again, I will be sending this to you guys after the presentation. So let's talk a little bit about our program partners, who all, is part of this work with Medici. So Medici Road will be serving as the program management, grantee and program management, support here. So I will be serving as you all's main point of contact, but I also have some of my team members, and I don't know if they want to say, hey, I know I have Malika on the line. And we also, I believe David is also on the line from our team. And our role in this program, we really want to ensure that you all as subrecipient, that you have everything that you need, that you feel supported throughout this process. This is a 3 to 4 year grant program. So we will be working very closely with you guys. And a big part of this for me is making sure that each of the subrecipient have what they need, that throughout the process, you guys are supported in terms of understanding, there are going to be some requirements, documents. If this is your first time applying for a federal grant, one aspect of this is that it does require a lot of paperwork, and our goal is just to simplify the process for you as much as possible. Secondly, and I believe Raphael is on the call from Citizen Energy. So Citizen Energy will be serving as our technical assistance partner, also the energy partner on this program. So Citizen will be assisting us with the selection process. They are also going to help conduct energy audits for the different sites, as well as there's a financial review evaluation that has to be completed. So Citizen Energy is our selected partner for this work. And others, so we have nonprofit networks. So we are working with different nonprofit network organizations to recruit and search for potential applicants for this program. So an example, Feeding America, we've been reaching out to them in hopes to ensure that everyone is aware of this program and everyone has an opportunity to apply. Now, let's get into the details of the program itself, and for you as an applicant, what are the requirements? One of the very first requirement, your organization must be a registered 501c3, and we are going to require documentation from the IRS stating that you are a 501c3, okay? Other requirements, service area, you must be based in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, or Delaware area. Now, earlier you all, I showed you a slide mentioning that Medici, we were one of 9 recipients. So there are, this program is running all throughout the US. So if you don't fall within one of those areas and you're on this call today, I just want you to know that we can connect you to our other partners in other areas that are also part of this initiative. But for Medici, we are only focusing on Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware. In terms of your organization's mission, again, as I mentioned earlier, your building must be located in a Justice 40 area, or you are serving that population. For Medici specifically, we are also going to look at organizations that have some sort of racial equity focus in the work that you do. Projects and activities wise, we are looking for organizations with projects, with energy update projects that can help them save or reduce their energy costs by 20%. That is a requirement from the DOE that we've submitted. Those projects, and this is part of the energy audit, the reviews that our energy partner is going to assist with, is we want to benchmark and see if this is a possibility for your project to land, in the area of 20% or so in energy saving. Very quickly, what are some of the projects that are allowed? We're talking about energy efficient lighting, appliances. Let's say, for example, you are a food bank and maybe you have a food pantry. I believe someone is unmuted. If you don't mind, please mute yourself. We're looking at system upgrades. So if you have, maybe an older HVAC system, those type of updates are allowed. Purchase of appliances. So again, energy, water efficient appliances, thermostats, all of those different items will be allowed. Under other here, I just put energy conservation improvements that can let us, lead us to that 20% in cost in energy saving will also be considered. In terms of what's not allowed, anything that is going to require ground disturbance will not be allowed. Anything that's going to require tree removal or trimming is not allowed. Anything that will require structural reinforcement will not be allowed. And we are not allowed to do anything related to solar at all whatsoever. So just wanted to share that with you guys. In terms of additional eligibility criteria, because this is a federal grant program, everyone must be registered in SAM.gov. So again, if you're on this call today and maybe this is your first time applying or hearing about a federal grant program, that is a requirement. And if you guys have questions after this call, you're more than welcome to follow up with me. It's a very easy process. You simply go to the website and register. Organizational and financial capacity. This is very important. And this is something that we will be looking at. And I'll talk to you guys some more about the selection process, the phases of the selection process But we are looking for organization. We want to be sure that you all have the staff capacity and also the financial capacity, because there is that cost share aspect of the program. Again, capacity to manage federal funds. I mentioned this earlier. Federal programs, federal grants, they require lots of documentation. So we want to be sure that your organization has the ability and the capacity to provide those documents as requested. Ability to manage a construction project with Davis Bacon and BABA requirements. Our energy partner will be working with each of you in ensuring and making sure that the requirements are all met. But we do want to understand. So if you're an organization that in the past, maybe you've completed some sort of project similar to this, you may want to include that in your application, because that is something that we're also looking to consider. Your organization must show that there's a need for funding. So here it says limited budget with high energy costs. Basically, we want to be sure that, okay, this organization actually does need the funding to complete this work. So however way you can share that information with us, whether that's, showing us your budgets, and, there are a lot of documents that are being requested to be able to analyze and see if your organization is in need of the funding. Willing to allow for site visits. Our energy partner that's one of the requirements. They have to be able to access your facility in order for them to perform their energy audits. And once we start the work, we need to be able to come in and visit your facility. So we have to ensure that access is being provided. We are also going to be conducting focus group meetings at your facility, so we will need access. So we want to be sure that organizations are comfortable with that. Another important requirement: the funds can only be used for construction and equipment. You will not be allowed to use the funds for administrative or staff costs. I do want to highlight here. So let's say you're working with a contractor and the contractor wants to pay their staff. That's different. We're talking about your nonprofit organization cannot use the funds to pay your own administrative or staff person within your organization. However, you can use the funds to pay your contractor and their staff. So I hope this brings clarity. And another big component of this grant is the willingness to engage contractors that are committed to hiring local employees. And I really want to highlight this because this is really what makes the Medici approach to this work different. And what we're looking for here, let's say in your community, and you all know your community best, so we would be leaning on you to help identify those contractors, or maybe it's a local workforce development organization within your community that is already doing this type of work. So we would want you to provide that information to us and our energy partner to ensure that we're meeting that requirement. I'll give you guys an example. I worked with an organization called OIC when I was in South Florida. So OIC does a lot of workforce development work. So I'm not sure in your community if you have an OIC or an organization similar. It would be a great idea to start engaging them to be part of this work with you. So program timeline. The grant was announced by the DOE October 25th of last year. That is when we found out that we received the grant. And February of this year, we launched the program and we started receiving applications. June, July. So currently, we just wrapped up reviewing cohort 1. So we had individuals submit their applications, and we are now in the process of moving those individuals that did meet the criteria, the eligibility criteria. They are now going to be moving forward to phase 2 of this of the program, which is the energy audit and financial reviews. But we are still accepting an application. Our goal is we would love to get to we would love to identify about 35 or 40 buildings. So we are still looking for applicants. And in August, on August 15th, we're looking to start the energy audits for cohort 1. And then on September 6th would be the final application deadline. So again, if you're on the call and you've received an email from me stating that you are moving forward to phase 2, this does not apply to you. This only applies to individuals that are that will be entering phase 1. So that application deadline is September 6th. That is the final application deadline. After September 6th, we are no longer going to be accepting applications. And then from September 6th to September 27th, it would be the cohort 2 application review process for eligibility. And then October 10th to December 5th, we are going to be conducting energy audits for cohort 2. And then toward the beginning of December to beginning of January, we are going to review all of the audits, all of the financial reviews. And from there, the goal is to select 24 subrecipients. So out of all of the different applications, we are only going to be able to support 24 subrecipients. And the goal is for us to, in January, once we've identified the final 24 that we believe have viable projects that will lead to 20%, to that 20% savings reduction, we will submit that list to the DOE. And then by early February, that's when we hope to be able to announce the subrecipients, the awardees. And by mid-February, the goal is to begin onboarding the new recipients. And then by late February, we should be able to launch the project. So I'd just like to share that just to give people a picture of what we're looking at in terms of timeline. It is a very long process, but we are, we do want to be sure that we're providing an opportunity for organizations to apply for this grant. We think that it's an amazing opportunity for you. And we know how, like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, utility costs and all of that tends to be the second largest operational expense. So we want to make sure that this is open to as many people as possible. And we're doing everything on our end to ensure that, it's a fair process, that we're taking our time to do the audits, the reviews, and to have our committee review all of the applications. Now, the nonprofit selection process is broken down into 3 different phases. So phase 1 is the review for eligibility. So that is, we have a checklist making sure like, okay, are they on SAM.gov? Their organizational capacity. We review some of the documents that you guys sent over. If you've already gone through this process, you guys already know this, but for those of you that are new, the phase 1 is really just making sure that you do, you are adhering to all of the different components of the eligibility criteria. And then the phase 2 is the energy audit and the financial review. That is going to be conducted by our energy partner, and this is going to require us to come into your building and do an assessment of your energy, as well as have an idea of what sort of potential projects could be completed. There's also going to be a financial evaluation completed at that stage. Again, that all of that is going to be conducted by our energy partner. And then phase 3, the final selection, once all of the audits and financial review comes back, we are going to discuss them with our team. We have a volunteer committee that is assisting us in terms of making the final selection. And again, I think the biggest thing here is wanting to be sure that, one, you guys are checking all of the DOE requirements, and also ensuring that your organization has the financial and organizational capacity to be able to manage this project, but also ensuring that your project is going to be able to lead into that 20% savings that we're looking for. So all of that will be put together and evaluated at the same time. And that is how we would make the final selection. Here, I just wanted to, same thing, just highlighting again, some of the requirements, items that you all have to have. One of the things that I want to mention here, and I know that there are some organizations on the call, if you are in a building that is more than 100 years old, or that is part of the National Register for Historic Places, there are special stipulations and guidelines and things that we will need to follow. So we do need to have that information. So in your application, it does ask for the year of your building. So following that, we would be able to decide. Also, I do want to highlight buildings that are located in a 100-year floodplain. That is also another stipulation or something else, that if you are aware that your building is located in a 100-year flood zone area, we would want to know that information. Okay. Energy Start Portfolio Manager is the software that we will be using to track and measure your savings. So what I've added here is just a link. If you scan the QR code, it would take you directly to the ESPM website, where you guys can access trainings, how-to guides, videos, webinars. It's a great tool for your organization. I think that part of, I'm looking to see if I can host a few trainings for our sub-recipients on how to utilize the program, but they do have a lot of good information that you can use. So if you're, I think someone asked me, is there a way, before the energy audit process start, that we can, start just to have an idea of where we are in terms of energy use and all of that. So that would be the tool. It's a free website, and if you guys have questions or anything, again, I'm looking to see if we can set up a training for this group, just so you all can have. So even if you're not part of the final list of 24, I think it would still be a great tool for you all to have access to. And I am now going to stop and look at the chat, and also allow you all to come on and ask questions. I see Dana, I see that you have your hands up, so go right ahead. And I'm also—
Hi, Tracy. Yeah, my apologies. I'm on my phone and I raised my hand by accident. But since you called on me, so I just wanted to pass along that I tried to upload a bunch of information today, and the Jot Forms thing says it's over quota.
Okay.
So we are ready now. Also, I do have a question. When 20%, you mean 20% of the entire facility's energy you're expecting to save, or you would like to save? And how hard is that number?
So Dana, I just want to answer the first question, and I think other organizations, I received a few emails. We are going to send out another link for you guys to upload those documents. I do apologize about that, but I'll be following up. I know that there's a technical issue there. And I'm sorry, what was the second question?
Well, you said you wanted, your criteria was to save 20% of the energy. So is that 20% of each individual project? Say you did an air conditioning project and it saved 20% of that energy you were using on air conditioning, but are you looking to save 20% of the energy the entire facility is using, or just 20% of the energy consumed by whatever system you're targeting with a project?
That is correct, the system that we're targeting. So let's say if the goal is to upgrade your HVAC system, right? So by the end of the project, we will want to see, okay, where did we start, and where are we now once the project ends, based on that upgrade. Does that help?
Yeah, yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And I have Marge, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
No, you didn't mispronounce it. It's just fine. My question has to do with the Justice 40 neighborhood. Our organization serves the unhoused primarily. And though the building itself is not in a Justice 40 neighborhood. It's right downtown where there's very little housing. It's a central place for the unhoused to come. So if that's, so we wouldn't meet that we know of, because some of our population would live in Justice 40 neighborhoods if they had a place to live. So how does that work?
So the best way that I can answer that question, and I just want to say this, so every application is going to be reviewed on a case by case. So there's no like, there is no such a thing as if your building is not in a Justice 40 location, you're disqualified. We are going to take a look at other things, right? So for example, the best way I would answer that question, do you all service individuals that may come from some of those communities or areas, or do you even provide service? So let's say you're a food bank, maybe your food bank is not located in a Justice 40 community, but maybe you host food distributions in Justice 40 communities, right? So we are going to, it's not going to be an instance where we're like, okay, they're not in a Justice 40 location, they're not qualified. That won't be the case. The goal here is that Medici really wants, and the Department of Energy as well, we want to ensure that this is benefiting communities that we know are disadvantaged, right? So any way that you can show us that this is going to benefit that community, then you want to include that in the application.
Okay, the answer was either yes or no. Your building is in Justice 40 or not. So
yes, but that would not disqualify you.
Okay, great.
If you're like I was mentioning, if you all can show that you serve that population in some way, then we'll still consider it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay. No problem. Sarah, and then Karen.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to go back to something that you had said in the presentation when describing the type of eligible projects. You said no solar, which is the first time I have heard that. I'm pretty sure that in the first information session about even before folks were in phase 1, solar was discussed. So that is a big surprise to us. And in fact, much of our application was focused on solar because it had the potential, at least in our analysis, to really deliver a big savings, which we were looking forward, obviously, to putting back into our mission.
Yeah.
So can you clarify what happened there?
Yes. So Malika, I don't know if you want to touch on that.
Hi, Sarah. Yes, I do. I thank you for that question. I think the reality is that there were some mixed signals from DOE of whether or not we could accept solar. We really just got a definitive no solar answer from DOE pretty recently. And even their team, the ones that are managing us as the primes, are still trying to work with their leadership to create an entire program that's just focused on solar. But because this came trickle down from a particular law, that law is what has prohibited the solar element. So DOE is having to really do a lot of red taping to create a program that is not trickled down from that law that Tracy mentioned earlier in the presentation, which can't remember the name at the top of my head, to facilitate a solar program. So originally they thought their team was trying to work on logistics to make it compliant with the rules and regulations that they're bound by, but it ended up not being able to be executed with this particular program. So I think that it's still worth going through the process though, because the audits will provide information and answers as to where else you can find savings, and there might be alternatives that you all have that's different from the solar. So hopefully that's helpful.
That is very helpful. I appreciate that answer, and I would love the opportunity to follow up maybe one-on-one, just because our circumstance might be a little more unique. But thank you very much.
Will do. Thank you, Sarah. Karen?
Hi, good afternoon. I have 2 questions. One is kind of a technical question. I've tried uploading our files to the new form that you sent us last month. I haven't hit submit, but so far they seem to be held. Is there a limit on how many megabytes this new form can hold? And I ask that because we're going back to schematic and mechanical drawings from more than 20 years ago, and they're rather large in size.
Yes, so from what I have gathered so far from other organizations, it seems that there is a limit, but we are working on that. So I'll be sending another email sometimes today or tomorrow where you all can upload those documents. Now, regarding the mechanical drawings, and I don't know, Raphael, if you want to chime in here, just to clarify what CE would be looking for in terms of the mechanical drawings. Let me see.
Yeah, but so basically we're looking for wiring, piping for the HVACs, that kind of stuff, water pipes, basically like, yeah, like the heating and ventilation systems, electrical systems as well.
And I've narrowed out anything that doesn't have to do with mechanical issues, but we're still looking at 12 megabytes. And I've tried optimizing it and everything with PDF, but it's still a very, very large file. So it sounds like you're aware of that and you'll be sending out another email.
Right.
My second question is, we submitted for phase 2 in May. Are you all going to use that information in your consideration?
That is correct. So everyone that received an email from me about moving forward to phase 2, you've already gone through the phase 1 part, which was the initial eligibility criteria review. So now we're preparing you for phase 2, which is the energy audits. In order for us to start the energy audit process, we have to have some of those missing documents on file first.
So the new form is really addressing missing documents from the previous.
Exactly. Correct.
Thank
Correct.
you.
Yes. And I am going to send you guys a follow-up email with the new form, and I do apologize for that.
And Tracy, can you address the due date? Because I think a few folks want to know if they're going to have.
Oh, yes. Perfect. Thank you. So here's where we are with the process. The sooner we can get your documents, then the earlier we can start site visits. And I know Raphael's on the call from our senior partner. So we're looking at mid-August as our start time frame to start the site visits. So the goal was to get all of the documents, the missing documents, by end of this week, August 2nd. And I know that there's issues with uploading documents and things. So I am open to pushing that deadline to next week, Monday, but we don't want to push it too far because we do want to stay within our timeline, if that is helpful. So however we can assist you all in terms of getting the documents into us. For example, the mechanical drawings, that is something that would be very helpful to us. But if it is an issue where you guys are not able to upload them, I will just focus on the other documents and then we'll follow up for the drawings afterwards. And I did get confirmation from our energy partner that, you know, if we would like to have the drawings if you all can upload them. But if it is a barrier for your organization, you can find it, you can upload it. I was just focused on sending in the other items, the financial statements and some of the other items that I sent over. But the intent is August 2nd. So by this Friday, if you guys can get everything into us, and at the very latest next week, Monday, because we need enough time to review everything to start site visits. Okay, Lucas?
Hello, I just had a question about the bank statement. So I'm a contractor working with the applicant organization, and they were just a little bit reluctant to provide full bank statements. And so they were wondering if we could provide audited financial statements or another form of financial documentation instead of full bank statements.
Yes, thank you, Lucas. And I've gotten that question. So I don't know, Malika, you can chime in, or Raphael, if you want to chime in as well.
So we are working with a third party to do our financial reviews. To the best of my knowledge, with everything that we've ever applied for, bank statements are not an ordinary request. I think audited financials would be sufficient as long as you have, end of the year reports and you have something that is gonna show your profit and loss, like a balance sheet, something of that nature should be sufficient, but you know, I don't want to step on our partners' toes. I haven't had a chance to review, or you know, I hadn't, this is the first I'm hearing about bank statements. I would need to review their list of requested documents to see if that was a typo or if that is specifically what they need. So Raphael, are you, I don't know if Raphael has the feedback on that. I know he leads with audits. But I think submit the audited financials, and was that Lucas that asked the question?
Lucas.
Lucas. I will take a quick glance to see what our financial partners are requesting.
Oh,
For the energy audits, we don't require the financial statements, most like technical information audit. Yeah.
Yeah, so not the bank statements, like the financial yeah. So yeah, I want to double check where the request for the bank statements came from, if that was so I'll follow up,
yeah.
Lucas. I would definitely go forward with the audited financials as a placeholder, and we will certainly follow up if we learn something new. I know that some organizations might not have that level of accounting going on where they have audited financials and they have nicely done balance sheets. So it could have been that they were requesting bank statements in lieu of having those other more organized or advanced accounting statements.
Yeah.
Possibly, but that's my best guess. I would have to follow up to give you more specificity.
Thank you.
Becky? Becky, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, could you tell me more about the 20% down? I understand it can't come from federal grants or anything, but can we partner with local jurisdictions to get our 20% funding?
The cost share.
Cost share.
Cost share? Perfect. I am going to let Malika chime in on that.
Hello, everyone. So cost share, I'm on this call to specifically speak to this because I know this is the hairiest part of this. Our cost share requirement is something that's trickled down from the Department of Energy. They want the subrecipients to have buy-in on the projects and for you guys to accomplish more by adding some of your own dollars. So that's the overarching request. Yes, you can really get your cost share from anywhere, except for they can't be there can't be federal dollars. You can work with organizations. There are going to be two kinds of cost share. There's going to be the in-kind cost share, which will work with you as you get further in the process to understand what that looks like. But that's going to be things like the point of contact person's hours that they're putting in that's a dollar amount for your nonprofit organization, and that's going to go toward your in-kind cost share commitment, the time that it's taking you all to coordinate with citizen energy partners to get your audits done and work with do the community focus groups and work with your workforce development program, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the in-kind. I think that's the easiest for us to execute. The cash portion is something we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out a best case scenario for the different kinds of organizations that are working with us. So where we've landed is that we're going to offer 3 different abilities and arrangements for nonprofit organizations at different financial capability levels. So the worst case scenario, and I hate to, maybe I shouldn't use that language, the scenario with which the most financially lucrative nonprofit organizations, they would be the ones that would be putting down $25,000 as a cost share saver, and then they would have 20% cost share contributed to every invoice that they are getting from their contractors until they reach their full cost share amount. And that full cost share amount is $47,250. Other organizations that do not have the ability to put down the 25,000 in cost share. And when I say put it down, it will be held in escrow, and we're going to release it at different points in the project to pay out your expenses to get this work done. So that's the overarching mechanics of who has to do the 25. It's really hard for us to speak to, am I gonna have to do 25,000 in escrow without the financial review happening? And that's why we're trying to get as close as we can to get through that process so that the financial team can make the recommendations and categorize you all and tell you relatively quickly what category you're going to fall in. The organizations that are not going to have the capital to do a $25,000 escrow hold early in the project, we're going to extend a payment plan where basically you're going to go on a 10-month payment plan to divide up your cash cost share amount. And it's going to be divided over 10 months, and essentially you'll be paying $4,750 and $4,750 over a 10-month span to meet your full cost share dollar amount. So even in the event that your project only takes 2.5 months to complete all the way through project implementation and the work being completed, you would still be on that payment plan to meet your federal cash share requirement. So right now, and there's the middle road the technicality is how the cost share that's held in cash in an escrow is dispersed. It's just basically allowing us to disperse out quicker from the escrow is that sort of middle ground for people that may fall between, yeah, I have the capital to put 25 in escrow, but I'm going to be lagging and producing more capital thereafter. So we're able to expend out of their escrow accounts quicker for them so that it's not a burden. And they have a little bit more time to continuously do their 20% cost share on their invoices. So I think this is something that will require a training on its own, so organizations understand with the information of what category you're likely to fall in. So we were hesitant to do it early on because obviously the most important thing is going to be what category you're going to fall in. And we're just unable to provide that without having the financial review behind us. So I think Tracy laid out our roadmap really well of the timeline, and that's another part of us being in partnership to get documents in so we can tell you guys what category you would fall in, and you guys can start to strategize the feasibility, what partners you can work with. And then the last point I'll say is that some of you all are anticipating utilizing your energy rebates to meet your cost share or a lion's share of your cost share. And I think that's a brilliant strategy. So in our cost share follow-up training, we're going to use probably one of you all as an example project of how you can utilize rebates to help support you in paying out your cost share. For example, I know one of our partners are intending to get some HVAC work done, and they've worked with another project that's going to give them $35,000 once they get this project done. They don't have the money to get the project done. That's where we come in, provide the grant, get the project done, and they have $35,000 right there to cover their cost share. So for them, it would probably make sense for them to go on the 10-month plan. They only probably need to cover a few months of it, and then they'll get their $35,000. They'll pay out the rest of it, their cost share in a lump sum or whatever is remaining. So our financial team, our partners' financial team that with Citizens Energy, not only are they going to review your financials, but they're also going to provide some support and recommendations. And we'll be working with them together to try to solve. So you all don't have to figure it out all on your own. And I'll leave it there if anybody has any follow-ups.
Thank you, Malika. There was Kim added a follow-up to that. She said some projects won't cost 180,000, which we know all the projects may not end up costing that much. So she's saying it could be less. The cost share amount could be less, which.
Right. So the cost share amount could be less. That's certainly true. There's a complexity to this where we would need to work with our accounting team to figure out how do we solve for it, because you all, DOE is still expecting the cost share dollars from us from these projects. So
Yeah.
we need to figure out, if we have a smaller project, we give you a smaller amount of money, what does that mean for cost share? And how are we going to still balance that out? Because they're looking for 24 times the cost share dollars that we're providing. So I think that is something I have been trying to, I've brought that up in all of the meetings and conversations. We don't clearly have that answer yet about what it looks like when we have a 50K project and their 20% cost share. How are we going to gain the remaining balance of the cost share, even if it's not? So again, these are conversations that it may end up working out in the accounting piece of it. So I think let us get through the process. Let us know who's going to qualify. Let us know who's ready to go for it in the work. And then we'll be in a position to give better feedback around financials after receiving, performing those financial reviews.
Thank you, Malika. Paul?
Yes, thanks for all your information today. Question regarding the energy audit. Can all phase 2 applicants who've kind of completed that process expect to get an audit scheduled? And my second question has to do clarification. I heard you say something about past projects or maybe recently completed projects, and then this grant is something that will help complete some additional ones, which is our situation. When would, did I hear you accurately? Are some past projects eligible? And what would that look like? Is that something we would discuss as part of the audit visit?
Okay, I can help with the first part of that question. So with the energy audits, anyone that received an email letting you know that you were advanced to phase 2 will be moving forward to the energy audit stage. Now, if you're missing a few documents, I know I made phone calls yesterday and also emailed a few people that were missing documents. If you didn't get that email from me about missing documents or anything, then very soon we will be following up with you to start coordinating site visits. But yes, so you're correct on that. And then for the second part, I think Malika, that's something if you don't mind touching on that, and you may be referring to, Paul, the conversation around rebates, if I heard that correctly. So how you can use other grants or rebates to help with this project?
No, it was something that I think you said earlier. I thought you said earlier, but I might have misinterpreted. That's why the question. I thought that there was a comment made pretty quickly that former projects could be perhaps considered as part of this, even if they've already been funded. But maybe I misunderstood.
Right. So I think that I understand what you're saying. There's been conversation. I think that's going to be a case-by-case review, because I think it's going to be related to if we can make it, if it's going to be, if we're able to make the case that this is all one energy upgrading, retrofitting project, or is it going to be very, like, for instance, is this a part of a previous audit that you received and with a long list of recommendations and you were able to do A and B, and now we're coming in for grant dollars to do C? So that's what we're going to just have to check out to see. Because I think, are you trying to regain some of the monies that you expended from one of your previous projects?
Well, no, we had kind of done our own energy audit and prioritization, and then ran out of funding. So
oh no. So finishing projects, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I thought you were trying to get some retroactive pay from projects completed. But no, I know finishing projects would be right on course of what we're here to do.
And Megan?
Great, thank you. I have a couple of questions. One was, we submitted our bank statements in the first round. I'm curious to know with these, when you send the link to the new site to upload remaining documents. Is that an area where we could submit past financial audits? That's a
Yes,
question.
we can include that for you guys, yes.
Okay.
That's
And
fine.
then question 2, not being sure about kind of the where we stand with our federal government and the timeline and transition of potential administration. Do you see any of that as a potential challenge in terms of going forward with the funding?
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great question. And I think, yeah, Malika, take it.
I was gonna say, it's been fun, guys. This is a $7.7 million grant, and they want the show to go on. Part of why we don't feel concerned with the funding portion, but yet things have been pushed up for us. There's been a lot of movement in the Department of Energy to execute things before the transition. So yeah, we have not missed that for certain, but as far as this award being granted, no, we've expended a tremendous amount of dollars ourselves as Medici Road because we are very confident that the funding is gonna come through. Full transparency, it has been delayed, but not because of the transition in office, but they are working their butts off to get it done before the transition of office. So everyone is very much aware of that, and
Yeah.
we feel very confident that funding is certainly moving forward. They've invested quite a lot at Department of Energy to get this program where it is, and it would be a huge loss for them to just drop it now. So we have full confidence it's going forward.
I don't envy you and recognize this is a big task. So
Yeah.
I would just want to put a plug in for being thankful for this.
Absolutely. Thank you
And
for that.
yes, maybe piggybacking on Paul's question about, so we have a project that we know is time sensitive. That's part of one of the prioritizations on our list. But we think we're going to have to do it. It's a HVAC system. We're planning to try and push it off to the fall. But it doesn't line up with the program. So should we just move forward and count that as a loss? That's, I guess, the question.
I don't think you counted it as a loss. I want to take another minute to see about that retroactive reimbursement. Do you have an audit to support doing the tasks that the HVAC?
Well, the system's down, and so we've got a bunch of quotes that so we're moving along with window units until we know folks are going to need the heat. And so to replace the full unit, we're hopeful that it would align with this grant to be able to.
Okay, so I think that will be noted. I think obviously if it's down, then it should come up in your audit. We just have to have audit support that this is an energy saving project for us to be able to have any way to cover the expense of it with the grant dollars. I think that should be accomplished if we can get to the audits, and you being in the first batch would mean that you would be in the running in August to start having site visits.
Thank
I
you.
don't want to say much more than that. I think we follow up one-on-one from there on that.
Thank you, Megan. I have a Bill.
Hi, thanks, Tracy. Quick question just about like verbiage or semantics when we're talking about the cost share. I heard you mention 2 or 3 different options. Are we usually using that verbiage interchangeably with what would be like a federal match or something of that, which we typically use for most of our grants? Because when you say cost share, I'm thinking of like, we need to cut a check for 25 grand at the start of the project versus I heard you mention in kind and some of our other grants, we actually match with annual fundraising, local dollars, something of that sort.
Right, no, so this is cost share and there's in kind. So there's cost share, there's that cash portion, which is money that will be expended on invoices at 20%, and 25% of it will be 25,000 will be held in escrow if you qualify for that level of investment. For nonprofits that can't handle that load, they'll be on a payment plan. So those are the 2 options of how we can meet cost share.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Karen?
Hi, I'm sorry, my charge on my speaker went out during a pivotal moment of this. And Malika, you were talking about the cost share and you mentioned 47,000. But when I calculate 189 times 20%, I'm coming up with 37.8 instead of 47,000. Did I, now, you might have explained something, and if so, I apologize, but is there a discrepancy?
There's no discrepancy there. So the number that you guys are getting is the number that we shared out to the team. The way that DOE has calculated projects, it's something in the 200s. So between it's something in the 200s per project. So when we deduct the cost share that you all are paying out for your own projects, what we're actually giving you is that 189 number. The actual percentage, let me see on my calculator real quick, is a very wonky, not neat number at all. It's let me see if I can pull that up. I can follow up. That will be a part of the cost share breakdown, but I would not worry about the percentages. That's not the only time that you're going to see that 20% be relevant is when the invoices start to come through, and there will be a 20% cost share per invoice. But the total dollar cash amount is the 47,250. And then there's the in-kind portion for, you know, personnel costs to make the full cost share that we owe to the DOE.
Thank you.
I'll take a look at the percentages just so you have that for your knowledge base for if I can't recall off the top of my head, but it will be in our cost share training when we get to that point. But yeah, you all should be knowing that that is cash, actual cash that needs to be contributed to the project.
Perfect. I'm sorry, Marge, I think you had your hands up.
Yes, thank you. Just to follow up on cost share. So does that mean that the in-kind contributions do not reduce the cash owed?
No, they're separate categories. So we have cash cost share and then we have in-kind cost share. So personnel time is going to only count toward in-kind cost share.
So does it affect cash?
It does not. No, cash is not moving at all. The in-kind is its own separate dollar amount. So we have a max or a minimum, I guess. If people expended more, it would not deduct the cash owed.
I see. Okay, my second question is about technical advice. One of the things we hoped for was that because we're not experts on HVAC and all mechanical systems or on energy saving percentages, we're wondering if Medici Road will be supplying us with a technical person who can say, this is your plan, this is what you need, and this is why you need it. And then to help us with contractors, because we don't know who's good and who's not. And because we can't assess that, because we're not very good at, we don't know, it's hard to tell, along with the hope for women-owned businesses, for example, we don't have the access to know what those businesses are and who's really good, who's competent. So what we were hoping for in this grant is, will we have that assistance? Because the whole idea is we don't know really what we're doing.
Thank you, Marge, for that question. So the answer is yes. We have partnered with Citizen Energy.
Yes.
Raphael on the call here is with Citizen, and they are our technical assistant partner. So they will be assisting you all with the initial energy audits. Then there's going to be the project scoping, and then the bidding process. They'll be helping you with identifying subcontractors and all of that. That is going to be provided.
Okay, so there's a plan. I mean,
there is. Yes,
okay.
There is.
All right, great. That's very, very helpful.
I have Bill and then Sarah, and then we're probably going to wrap it up right after those two. I do see a few questions in the chat. I am more than happy to follow up with some of you guys one-on-one to discuss, if you have project specific questions or cost share questions, Malika and I will be more than happy to follow up. So I'll take Bill, Sarah, and then Elizabeth.
Sorry, I didn't mean to raise it. I don't think I lowered it from before, but I did make a note in the chat about how to calculate the cost share. It's actually 189 divided by 0.8 rather than 189 divided by times 20%. Anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, thank you. Just two, hopefully quick questions. One is, after we do the energy audits and stuff, do you expect to have a formal application for phase 3 the way we had to do for phase 2 with like narrative and explanations and stuff? Or
No.
So okay. And the second question was, just to make sure I understand about immediate next steps, it sounds like you're going to send out a new link, so we shouldn't bother to use the jot form, or do you want us to try to do that as well?
No, because it seems like JotForm is not allowing you all to upload it's only allowing you to upload to a certain size. And I want to be sure that we can get that updated. So just give me, if you all just, after this meeting, by tomorrow, I should be able to follow up with a new link. And I'll also be calling you all individually for those of you that are missing documents.
And we apologize for the technical difficulty. We had this nice, expensive process and they're having technical issues, so we had to get a very quick interim solution. But I'm actually going to hop off to get on a call with them right now. So I just wanted to thank everybody for their time and if you have more questions specifically for me, probably around cost share, one, we're going to do a training. And two, send them in the chat. We can download the chat, Tracy, and then be able to do like maybe a FAQ sheet to email out to a team, so they don't have to, as they listen to the recording. So thank you all so much for your time. I'm going to depart now, and you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Malika. Elizabeth, so that I'll take you all as my last question, but like Malika mentioned, I am going to put together on our website, there will be a link to this webinar so you all can get to watch it again. And then I will also put together an FAQ spreadsheet with all of the questions that came up today and other questions that we received, so that way you all can always have that as a reference. Elizabeth, I don't see you on my screen anymore. Okay, there you are.
So I'm here. So we have a very complicated building in terms of its age and its configuration, and have approached a couple of HVAC contractors who have recommended that we hire a mechanical engineer to make recommendations about what kind of a system we should put in. From what you just said previously, it sounds like I should hold off on hiring that person.
That is correct. Yes. So our partner, our energy partner, will come in and perform the energy audits, and from there we would give you a plan on what we think will best assist you all in reducing costs.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate all of you. I know this has been a very long process, but we're getting there, and I'm excited to soon be visiting some of you guys at your location. So thank you for being on, and just be on the lookout for a follow-up email. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.